Are you sure you're ready for this stage, dear? It's quite the spotlight. The show's host, a man with a perfectly sculpted smile and an air of polished condescension, remarked, his gaze lingering on her simple dress and sensible shoes. Eleanor Vance, 78, clutched her worn handbag, a nervous flutter in her chest. She nodded, her expression determined despite the tremor in her hands. She suspected why they'd really invited her. A bit of light-hearted mockery, a humorous segment about an old lady with a hobby. The audience tittered. They had no idea the storm of sound she was about to unleash. If you believe true talent has no age limit, type respect below. Eleanor Vance wasn't seeking fame. At 78, her world was small, centered around her quiet apartment filled with antique furniture, the scent of lavender potpourri, and the constant comforting presence of her upright piano. She dreamed of concert halls once, a lifetime ago, her fingers flying across the keys with youthful fire. But life had intervened, a demanding career, caring for ailing parents, the quiet rhythm of marriage, and the ambitious dream had faded into a cherished private passion. She still played every day, the music a language more profound than words, a connection to the vibrant spirit she still held inside. Her hands, marked by age and years of unseen labor, transformed into instruments of grace the moment they touched the keyboard, unlocking melodies that spoke of joy, sorrow, and enduring beauty. Once a week, she volunteered at the local community center, patiently teaching neighborhood children the basics of piano, sharing her love for music with small, fumbling fingers. That's how Mr. Sterling, a segment producer for a national talent showcase called Global Stage, found her. He'd seen a short piece on local news about her teaching, a sweet, quirky human interest story about an elderly woman keeping music alive in her community. Sterling, always looking for unique acts, saw potential viral content, the charming old lady with a simple hobby. He called, invited her to be a guest on the show, promising a chance to share her passion. Eleanor was hesitant. She hadn't performed publicly in decades. The glitz and noise of television seemed alien, but the producer was persistent, talking about inspiring others, sharing her love for music. A small part of her, the part that remembered the concert hall dream, stirred. She agreed, though a nagging suspicion lingered. Did they really want to celebrate her? Or were they looking for something to gently poke fun at? Arriving at the Global Stage studios was overwhelming. The sheer scale of the production, the towering lights, the hurried, focused energy of the crew, it was a world away from her quiet life. She was ushered backstage, given a modest dressing room. Stylists offered to touch up her hair and makeup, but she declined politely, preferring to look like herself. She saw other contestants, singers with powerful voices, dancers with dazzling costumes, performers radiating youthful ambition and polished confidence. She felt increasingly out of place in her simple dark dress and sensible shoes. She met the host, a man named Mr. Thorne, and the panel of judges, Ms. Albright, known for her sharp critiques, Mr. Davies, whose expression was perpetually skeptical, and General Reed, a former general turned celebrity judge, a different General Reed than in other stories, whose military bearing seemed out of place in the entertainment world. They were polite enough backstage, but their smiles seemed a little too bright, their questions about her teaching a little too focused on the sweet little kids and her lovely hobby. It reinforced her suspicion. They saw her as a heartwarming novelty act, perhaps someone whose earnestness would be gently mocked for entertainment. When it was her turn, the assistant director guided her towards the stage entrance. Her heart pounded. The roar of the live audience, the blinding stage lights. It was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. "And now," the host, Mr. Thorne, announced to the cheering crowd, his voice booming from the speakers, "we have a very special guest, a true inspiration from the heartland, a lovely lady who proves that age is just a number when it comes to pursuing your passions. Please welcome Ms. Eleanor Vance." As she walked onto the enormous stage, a lone figure heading towards a magnificent grand piano positioned center stage, the initial roar of the audience softened into scattered polite applause, mixed with a few murmurs of curiosity and perhaps a touch of pity. They saw an old woman, small and unassuming, clutching her handbag. The host met her center stage. Ms. Vance, he said, smiling that perfectly sculpted smile, his voice amplified for the arena. It is just delightful to have you. Tell us, you teach piano to young children? Yes, Eleanor replied, her voice quiet but clear, leaning slightly on her handbag. At the community centre. Wonderful, a true service to the community. Mr. Thorne beamed, then turned back to the judges, with a wink the audience could see on the big screens. Ms. Vance tells us she's going to play for us tonight. What piece will you be gracing us with, dear? His tone, though outwardly cheerful, carried an unmistakable note of condescension, as if asking what simple nursery rhyme she'd perform. Eleanor paused, took a deep breath. I will be performing Liszt's La Campanella. A wave of confused murmurs swept through the audience. Liszt's La Campanella, that notoriously difficult, technically demanding piece, known for its lightning-fast arpeggios and complex leaps across the keyboard. That wasn't a sweet hobby piece. That was a virtuoso's challenge. The judges exchanged glances. Miss Albright raised a skeptical eyebrow. Mr. Davies stifled a cough, and General Reed leaned forward, his expression shifting from polite interest to sharp attention. Mr. Thorne's smile faltered for a fraction of a second, replaced by a flicker of surprise he quickly masked. Oh, La Campanella, he chuckled, a nervous edge in his voice. Well, a very ambitious choice, Miss Vance. We look forward to hearing it. He gestured towards the piano, his body language now clearly conveying, let's get this over with. Eleanor ignored the reaction. She walked towards the grand piano, a massive, gleaming black instrument that seemed to dwarf her small frame. She sat down on the piano bench, her simple dress and sensible shoes a stark contrast to the opulence of the stage and the instrument. She took a moment, closing her eyes, placing her worn hands on the cool ivory keys. The arena, moments before filled with murmurs and nervous energy, fell into a profound, expectant silence. The judges watched, Miss Albright with clear skepticism, Mr. Davies with bored impatience, General Reed with that same unnerving intensity. They were waiting perhaps for a fumbling start, for a simplified version, for confirmation of their assumptions. They were utterly unprepared for what happened next. Eleanor took another deep breath, her eyes still closed for a moment. Then her fingers moved. The very first notes that rang out through the massive arena were not hesitant, not fumbling, not simplified. They were crystal clear, precise, and delivered with an immediate, breathtaking confidence and speed that instantly silenced any lingering tittering in the audience. The complex melody unfolded with startling accuracy and fluidity. Her hands, which looked aged and perhaps frail just moments before, transformed, flying across the keyboard with effortless virtuosity. The rapid-fire arpeggios, the enormous leaps, the intricate cross-hand passages, all executed with a technical mastery that defied her age, her appearance, and every expectation in the room. The music wasn't just accurate, it was filled with a profound, raw emotion, passion, intensity, a lifetime of dreams poured into sound. The audience reactions began almost immediately. Skeptical murmurs died away. Faces registered surprise, then astonishment. Eyes widened, jaws dropped. Phones that had been recording with casual amusement were now held steady, capturing a moment of unexpected brilliance. The judges were equally stunned. Ms. Albright's skeptical eyebrow shot up, her mouth slightly agape. Mr. Davies sat bolt upright, his boredom vanishing, replaced by wide-eyed disbelief. General Reed leaned back slowly in his chair, a look of absolute awe spreading across his face, his military posture somehow softening in the presence of such artistry. The music swelled, filling the arena, a torrent of intricate, dazzling sound. Eleanor Vance, the unassuming old woman, was utterly lost in the performance, her body swaying slightly with the rhythm, her face reflecting the intense concentration and deep emotion of the piece. Her fingers danced across the keys with an agility and power that belonged on the world's grandest stages. It was clear this wasn't just a well-practiced hobby. This was the performance of a seasoned, exceptionally gifted pianist who had somehow remained hidden from the world. The perceived setup for mockery had instead become a platform for a breathtaking, unexpected revelation of profound talent. The audience was completely captivated, leaning forward in their seats, lost in the mesmerizing display of skill and passion. You could have heard a pin drop between the thunderous passages of the music. The judges, minutes before ready to offer polite, dismissive commentary, now watched with a mixture of wonder and visible humility. Miss Albright wiped a tear from her eye. Mr. Davies shook his head slowly, a look of profound respect replacing his skepticism. General Reed sat motionless, his gaze fixed on Eleanor, witnessing a display of mastery he clearly recognized and admired. The music built to a crescendo, a final, dazzling flurry of notes that culminated in a powerful, resonant chord. Eleanor's hands stilled on the keys. She sat for a moment, her chest rising and falling, the silence of the arena ringing in her ears. Then the arena erupted. The applause started as a wave, then crashed over the stage like a tsunami. The audience rose as one, a spontaneous, thunderous standing ovation that shook the rafters. Cheers and shouts of bravo and encore filled the air. Eleanor looked up, blinking slightly in the sudden light and noise, a look of surprise on her face. She seemed genuinely taken aback by the intensity of the reaction. The judges, still stunned, slowly rose to their feet as well, joining the ovation. Mr. Thorne, the host, rushed back onto the stage, his earlier condescension completely gone, replaced by a look of bewildered awe and frantic excitement. He stood beside Eleanor as the applause continued, waiting for it to subside. When it finally did, he turned to the judges, his voice hoarse with emotion. Judges, what did we just witness?" Ms. Albright was the first to speak, her voice thick with emotion. "Ms. Vance, Eleanor, that was... I am speechless. In all my years, I have never witnessed such virtuosity, such passion, such unexpected genius. You are a marvel." Mr. Davies, known for his tough demeanor, could only manage a shaky, I apologize, Miss Vance. I came into this expecting something else. You blew me away, utterly and completely. That was world class." General Reed stood straighter, his expression one of deep respect. "Sergeant Major, I mean Miss Vance," he corrected himself with a slight, respectful bow of his head. "That wasn't just a performance. That was a demonstration of extraordinary discipline, dedication, and mastery. It requires a rare kind of courage to command an instrument like that with such authority. You are an inspiration." Offers began pouring in almost immediately. Representatives from major record labels and concert halls who had been in the audience or watching backstage rushed forward, pressing business cards into Mr. Sterling's hand, asking to speak with Ms. Vance. News of the performance went viral instantly, clips flooding social media with captions like, "Old Lady Shocks Talent Show," "Grandma Plays Liszt Like a Pro," "Best Performance Ever." Eleanor Vance, the quiet piano teacher, was suddenly an overnight sensation. She gracefully navigated the sudden attention, her humility unchanged. She didn't sign a major record deal or book a world tour, not initially. Instead, she used the platform to advocate for music education in underserved communities, raising funds and awareness. She did accept invitations to perform at a few prestigious charity galas. Her performances always met with awe and standing ovations. She continued to teach the children at the community center, her lessons now filled with even more magic, her story a living testament to the power of pursuing your passion regardless of age or circumstance. Mr. Sterling and the global stage producers learned a valuable lesson about judging people by appearance. Their attempt at a subtly mocking segment had instead resulted in showcasing a national treasure and earning the show genuine acclaim for discovering authentic, extraordinary talent. Eleanor Vance proved that brilliance doesn't fade with age, and that sometimes the most powerful performances come from those we least expect, reminding the world that true artistry is ageless and boundless, waiting patiently for its moment in the spotlight. Subscribe to my channel if you believe it's never too late to share your gift with the world.